Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Azaro, wrecker of days, a weary traveler at the end of the line.
Again, he's back. He's back to join us, Azaro. How are you, buddy? Episode 246 of Forever Exiled. First off, big shout out to our patrons. We love your faces. Thanks to everybody who resubbed up this week. You are awesome. Patreon, if you're curious, gets you access to After Dark. It's our podcast after the podcast where we continue to talk and you get to hang out. And you know what? Sometimes you get something special. You just never know what you'll get after dark. But thank you.
If you like podcasts, which you do because you're listening, it's more of that.
More podcasts. That's right.
More talking, more yapping,
more talking.
More people that aren't you talking.
Patreon access, all that information's on our website. You can find it there.
Thank
we
you,
got
patrons.
No special dates, so you do rock. How's your week, Ty? Episode 246 now. Forever Exiled. How are you?
Well, you are Ron Burgundy. Hey, if I don't take out cards, you're like, okay, none of this, none of this, none of this, none of this. That's hilarious. How's my week? I've been sick now, just as long as my daughter. Whatever it is that she got, I got. My son barely got. My wife barely got. It's just smashed both of us really hard. But
cold, like just mainly.
My daughter had a pretty feisty fever for about 4 hours. And as soon as the Tylenol and Advil expired, the fever never came back.
It's good.
Everything like disappeared except for the cough. With her respiratory stuff, her coughs are going to last a month after she has a cough. So you can't really gauge how she's doing based on her cough. But yeah, no, it's the last 2 weeks of school for the kids for us. And so they're not really doing school. They're showing up at school and then they have a movie day. They're showing up at school and they have a sports day.
Did you go to sports day?
Me? No, goodness, no.
Okay, I did. Sorry, I'm just going to add this to you because you brought up sports day. It's not sports day. I went to it. I don't know what's happening to schools. Come on. First off, they don't do colors. They don't do teams anymore. So there's no red versus green versus blue. Like they all compete against each other for points.
Okay.
There's none of the events they do were like competitions. I went there to get pictures of our girls and I'm walking around finding them. And I was walking around just stewing to myself. Like, what the hell? They're just playing with a parachute.
Right, bouncing a ball up with a parachute. Yeah,
they were all kicking a ball inside of this circle. There was no like take an egg and try and get it to the end, or like there was nothing competitive about any of it. It was so bizarre to me. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
yes, I had sports day.
That's fine.
But it's not sports day. It's fun day. It's play day. That's what it was.
Something like that. Yeah. So they had that, but my daughter missed that.
Oh, she did. That's too bad.
But we had the doctor's appointment that day. We were very fortunate to get a rush doctor's appointment, and they listened to Violet. That specific doctor for our kids is very good at history and knowledge and notes. So it doesn't even matter which doctor in the practice looks at them. They all have a very good synopsis of what's going on. So good news. We were really concerned. Last time our daughter she gets bad coughs often. But the last time she had a bad cough that she couldn't control, and then maybe a week later she had an almost uncontrollable fever. Like I'm talking, like, you know, when you give your kid Tylenol and Advil, the expectation is that the fever responds. So you're at like 39 degrees. Oh yeah, you do Fahrenheit for fevers, but you're at 39 degrees, and then, you know, it'll drop down to 38, 37, something like that. Well, hers just maintained. It just stayed at 39. It just didn't go over 40, which is when you're supposed to go to the hospital here. And we're like, shoot, last time this happened, sure, it was a while ago, but that was when pneumonia was so bad she had to be hospitalized, as opposed to just have some, what's it called? Amoxicillin, which normally gets rid of the low grade stuff. So anyway, we went and we were all nervous then. Dang it. It's like the last fun 2 weeks. And she's in the last year of elementary school. She's going to middle school next year. So they have a lot of extra stuff for the grade 5s this year. She didn't have pneumonia, and we were very surprised, but very thankful. Next day was water slides day. They were going out to Cultus. They were going to do water slides at the beach. I'm like, Violet, you're going. And I'm like, okay, here's your blue puffer. Here's a whole bunch of lozenges. And then here's this and here's that. And I'm like, you just go. Here's some masks. If people don't like how much you're coughing on the bus, you go.
Yeah, sure.
You go. And as a dad, I know there's a whole bunch of people from a lot of different cultures listening to this. So just understand this is just me as a dad being terrified for my daughter, but it was the first time my daughter was in a two-piece that properly fit her. All the two-piece bathing suits that she's been given or whatever throughout our life, they've always been too big. right? So she's never been able to wear them. She's always had to wait. Well, all of a sudden she's like ready for school and she's got a 2-piece on underneath. And I'm like, oh no, it fits really well. Like I don't have to worry about it sagging below and people seeing things that they shouldn't. And I'm like, dang it. So anyway, the 2-piece bathing suit business has begun.
She's growing up.
Daddy's heart can't handle it, but she had a great time. And so we had a good time. Anyway, I didn't mean to like give you play by play, but it was nice that Violet didn't need to be hospitalized. That was something we were worried about. And so yeah, now it's just coughs and that's about it. Did you get any of your kids anything special for when I don't like calling it graduating, but maybe that's just me being an old timer. Cause when we went to school, there was no middle school where we live. So we left elementary school in grade 7 and then we were just thrown to the wolves in grade 8. But now, of course, there's middle school. I don't call it graduation, but did you get your kids anything when they moved on from grade 5 to grade 6?
High fives.
All right. Right on.
I think the graduation thing to me is just like too drawn out. It's like, okay, they're graduating from preschool. Oh, look at that. They graduated from kindergarten. Oh, they graduated from grade 5. Oh, they graduated from grade 8.
9 and a half.
High school. Yeah. Good job. Congratulations. The other ones, it's like, yeah, you went on to the next grade. Cool. Have fun at the bigger school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm obviously very excited for my daughter, and
yeah, we were excited.
We're gonna go to this 8-hour.
I think we might went out for dinner or something.
Farewell. Oh, that's a good idea. One of my nieces, she's graduating high school this coming week, and unfortunately, her ceremony is at the same time as Violet's ceremony. Yep. So we won't be able to go to celebrate the high school. Could you have
anyway? Because high school's now switched it all up where you got to like pay per person that has to come. Yeah.
But you just pay as many, like they have it at like a big rec center. Area. So you 15,000 people could show up. Goodness me. Imagine 15,000 people at our grad.
My niece is graduating this year as well. And we didn't even get the option to buy a thing to go see.
Must be a bigger school than the one that my niece goes to.
No. We could have. We just weren't we weren't given the option to buy a ticket. So whatever. The last one I went to was my son's actually for high school. Cause when my nephew graduated, it was during COVID, and COVID was like drive-by graduations. Like the parents, I think, got to like drive up and then walk up and like hand your kid something. And then everybody, like, it was
the traffic. Yeah. Really ruins the moment. So anyway, sorry to ramble on, but end of the school year and sick and not sick and all that fun stuff. And so summer's about just around the river bend, just around the river bend. It's the kids' last Friday of the year for school. How about you? Did you have a week? How's your back feeling?
My week was really busy. It was kind of good, kind of bad. My back sucks. I had a really awful day yesterday. Just everything built up and I had just a bit of a breakdown. I've been trying to like not be as reliant on the pills that I have. So I know I have to take the nerve blocker, but the like opioid ones, I was like, man, I can feel myself wanting to take them. And that's not what I want. I want to just be taking them when I'm, needing them and dealing with the pain.
Aren't you supposed to be on a schedule though? It's not about emotion.
I am on a schedule, but I still felt like I was wanting to have them more often than I could. And I had the option that I could double up when the pain was bad. Anyway, I tried to cut back and it just made it brutal. Like the pain was awful. So I'm very much looking forward to July 2nd and figuring out some direction and getting this surgery done and getting this out of the way. But what else did I do this week? My week was fine. I'm super nervous about a recording. I was going to tell you about it beforehand, but I figured I'd wait. I've been trying to figure out the backup system. I got a new card. I put a new bigger SD card in there and a more high-end
bigger
one.
GBs.
Yeah, and it's a high-end one. So I tested it. It does work. It's working fine. It's currently running right now. It seems to be okay. But this whole Rodecaster Pro system it's new, but it's being weird. Like
should have returned it just in case.
I'm not really sure. Like yesterday I was on the computer and all of a sudden it just started glitching. The sound on my computer was glitching like really hard. And I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? It sounded like my computer was shorting out by the noises I was hearing.
Okay.
So I did reboot this thing because it seemed frozen. So I'm just hopefully everything's going fine.
Well, what are you recording with? Is that the only thing you're recording with?
Well, I'm recording. No, I'm recording on my computer too, but it was messing up the sound on my computer. So if that thing screws up, it's going to screw up my audio more specifically than your audio. So the week, let's see, what else did I do this week? It was a lot of work, and I am excited to edit this episode though. Most people won't notice it, but I will notice it. But I do have, I was able to get upgraded to RX11, which is the audio software we use primarily for actually processing our audio. So I use Audition to edit the episode, but I use RX11 to actually process all of our audio. So I am excited about that because we've been on RX10 now since it came out. So RX11's out. So that's very exciting for me because I've got some new features. So I'm curious to see how that works out for me with working on our episodes.
Where's that from? It's not my best feature.
I was, I don't know. That does sound familiar.
No, that's a Tom Cruise movie from the 90s. She's the secretary. One where he's like
the crazy fat guy.
I think he's a lawyer. Taken down some I don't know. It's not my best feature.
He says that or somebody else says
no, the secretary does. I'm gonna find out. You keep talking.
Well, anyway, I ended up messaging. I had a conversation with Camille because he's my bud when it comes to audio stuff, and they all use RX11 at GGG except him. So all of the audio people use that same software, and he's been talking about starting to use it, and I'm like, man, it's so much fun. Like the stuff you can do with it is crazy. So cool. What else there was more I was going to tell you about, but
the firm.
So he was a lawyer. I went and got my hair cut, and I had a fun conversation with the guy who was cutting my hair because he has had his nose broken about 4 times. He's young. He's like 26, and he's had his nose broken, but straight on. So not like to the side. I've had mine to the side. He's had his straight on. And interesting, he has a lot of the same issues you had with regards to the surgery that you had. He went in to get the scope done, and on one side they couldn't even get the scope up because he's got 95% blockage, and on the other side he's got about 40% blockage.
Love those percentages.
He was supposed to go for his surgery, and then COVID hit and he couldn't get it done, and he just hasn't rescheduled it. And I was like, well, my buddy, it definitely made a difference in how he can breathe. Like he's
you should have heard that snoring.
Well, it was funny because it came up. He was talking about his girlfriend says that he snores a lot, and his friends, when they've had gone to place or whatever, have said the same thing. And I was laughing because I was like, well, apparently it does improve the snoring, but let me tell you,
that's awesome.
I was telling because he knew that I had gone to LA, but I was saying that you were the one that I went to LA with, and I was saying, I didn't notice it. So maybe I didn't know it before, but I said it did definitely help his breathing. So,
yeah. And it's not every night that I snore. That might be the improvement.
Oh, maybe
when I talk to my wife, it could just be that I snore once or twice. Yeah.
Could have been.
Well, inflammation. Yeah, you betcha. Alcohol definitely will do that for me, especially with how infrequently I drink. So
yep.
Could have been. So but I'm sorry that they're dealing with it. Are they going to reschedule?
After I talked to him, he was like, I'm going to do it. I need to call and get it done. I'm like, it wasn't like a horrible recovery. Like I said, he couldn't carry stuff and he had to be careful about doing stuff, but he could still get around. I said, if you don't give a shit about how you look, sorry, Sophia, it's just a thing on your nose that just like, you got to wear this thing, this thing's attached to your nose, holding the whole thing in, while you're recovering. But this guy has been through way worse surgeries and recoveries. I'm like, you'll be fine. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah,
well, I can give the recommendation for who to go to because my surgeon has a phenomenal reputation for the quality of work they do, and I am.
Well, you have to send it to me later next time I see him. I'll pass that information along. But
we never do, but I'll do it.
I'm right now in just countdown mode. I just want to get out to Kamloops, get this stuff sorted, get a direction, and move forward with it. Yeah. So I'm done with it. I can't stand being on this much drugs. I'm really struggling to get stuff done. So yeah. Otherwise, I'm excited that we've got some guests coming up. So if you're a patron and you're in that tier, you'll see it in our Discord. But this is like back to normal. If you're a YouTuber, guess what?
That's
you're
right.
just seeing normal YouTube for Forever Exiled.
It's our first normal episode for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it feels like a long time, but I guess even when you go away for only 2 days, it still feels like a week. So who knows how long it's been? But
we made
this week we're normal,
back
and
to
then
normal.
next 2
We're gonna
weeks,
have next 2 weeks. Yeah, a little
normal.
bit of fun talk, some fun conversations with some fun people coming up. But Tyler, both of us recommitted to each other this week that we're going to say piss off to Reddit. And I had a funny thought to myself.
It was hilarious. Our post was hilarious. Actually, I have no problem talking about that. So you say your thing, and then let's make a point of bringing it up.
Well, it is what it is. It's Reddit being Reddit. And it's really unfortunate because it's actually not fair to say Reddit being Reddit, because the fact is I actually use Reddit probably every single day. Almost every single day I use Reddit in some form. And it's just unfortunate that the loud people on the PoE Reddit specifically can be just toxic and nasty. And it's too bad that it becomes it feels like the spokespeople for what I expect PoE run Reddit to be.
Well, that's GGG multiple times. I mean, when Bex was there, she said we've come very close to not letting staff reply or read Reddit. We've had GGG people on that say they avoid reading Reddit.
To people that, exactly.
Right.
That
when the people that we've
Reddit.
Spoken to off camera or like Reddit's just, it is like that. And then you get all of a sudden you have a whole year where GGG literally doesn't post on Reddit.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that it's not the entire platform. It's not the entire PoE community, but it's toxic enough that who cares which percentage of the majority or minority it is? It's enough dick bags in the bag that it's not.
It's not worth it. And I want to just say to those people who are sometimes negative, and I know that they listen, which is the part that cracks me up. But this is episode 246 of our podcast. We are the longest running stayed together podcast in the sense for episodes. Okay?
Official terms stayed together-ish.
Stayed together-ish. Like we've released the most episodes. Let's just put it that way. There's a reason that it works for us, and it is solely because we are friends and we can talk like human beings with each other about things other than Path of Exile. And the fact is, to everybody's credit that listens, and there's thousands that listen, and there's 4 people that act like assholes. I'm sorry, Sophia. I understand that it's not the whole of them, but it works because this is us. We have people don't like that we talk about life. Well, we would have like a 4-minute podcast that would have lasted 3 episodes if all we talked about was Path of Exile. It just would have. Like people like our podcast, and we enjoy doing our podcast because we get to just chat. And so I understand that people sometimes don't like that, but it cracks me up that is what people hone in on, not the whole Path of Exile conversation that comes, because we've talked about Path of Exile for 246 episodes. Every single episode, something Path of Exile gets talked about. It just cracks me up, but
it's weird. And the funny thing is maybe in the Path of Exile community, it's like, hi, here's a podcast, Path of Exile. And they go. But when you look at what a podcast is as opposed to just a YouTube video, and it's no criticism. I mean, make whatever content you want, talk about whatever you want. And then if you get the likes and you're able to do it consistently, awesome. If it's worth your time, super, make the content you want. So it's definitely no criticism to any other creator.
No, you should do what you want.
But all the other podcasts that I've listened to, you have to get to the main event.
Right.
And a podcast isn't a TV show where its entire design is, we got to keep them hooked in. It's not like, I don't know, like think about MMA or boxing where you have the feature fights or, the small fights, get into the bigger fight, get into the bigger. Now you have the main event. Like a podcast is just people chatting. Like, I don't know, listen to Smartless. How often do they stay on topic?
It's awesome. It's so fun. And that
but they're never on topic. Like you get Daniel Ricciardo on there and he spoke for like 5 sentences. Right. So I don't know. And so it's funny. So anyway, this week we posted on Reddit. We said a while ago, whenever they changed the new regulations for posting and self promo and all that, we're not as active, especially now that I'm no longer doing guides officially. I'm not replying on Reddit, or people aren't making fun of my builds on Reddit. So there's a lot less responses for me. So I'm not making a natural quota for how many posts I should post in a conversation to then therefore be able to earn a self promo post. So Justin and I just like, you know what? Our numbers used to come from Reddit. Now very few of our numbers come from Reddit. And so we just decided not to post on Reddit anymore. But we're like, you know what? We went to LA. We had this. Maybe there's a few people out there that would like how we present our stuff and would be interested. So we post both part 1 and 2 separate Reddit posts. And part 2, fine. Part 1 was fine
though. Part 1 was 2, fine. Holy cow!
Right. I don't know how the algorithm works, but it was like only nice people. Right. And I posted it around the same time the week before too. But week 1, the nice people saw it. Week 2, the bags of dicks saw it. And it was hilarious. Like, and the amount of upvotes their criticisms got, it was hilarious. There was one post where the person was like, edit 1, edit 2, and they had like 8 edits as they kept listening to our podcast. Listening,
I know,
about criticizing about, okay, now I'm learning about Home Depot, now I'm learning about this, now I'm learning about that, and they were to make fun of us. And at the very end, the post got removed because I wasn't meeting the self-promo requirements, so the moderators got rid of it. But before they got rid of it, they went through they were wondering why everything was getting so flagged in their system, whatever they have. And they removed almost every single post that existed because of how offensive everybody was being. But then there was somebody else that replied
because of that. I think they removed our posts more because of the turds that were on there, which is fine.
Because my episode or my part 1 post of our LA trip stayed on.
Yeah.
It also didn't meet the requirements of self-promo, but because it didn't have any negativity. So I do have a problem with content being removed based on popularity. I think that's a really narrow-minded way to communicate or share opinions. But that aside, it's not like a big deal. But there was a post underneath all of that negativity that was like, and they listed a whole bunch of bigger names of podcasts. And I was like, I don't know what podcasts you guys listen to, but every podcast does this. Yeah. They chat about nothing for 20 minutes and then they get into the good stuff. Like that's every single podcast I listen to. You calm your tits. So it was fun. It was a good experience, or humorous experience, because that kind of stuff doesn't bother Justin.
It doesn't bother us.
It used to bother me. For the first, are we on 246? For the first 245 episodes, it used to bother me. But there does come a point where after that type of consistency, like if you're a content creator, especially now that PoE 2 is coming out and, we're getting a November date that hopefully isn't going to change again. And then, things are getting closer. Someone like Talkative Try became famous or popular in our community out of nowhere because they just started focusing on stuff that they were excited about. And all of a sudden, everyone else was just as excited about the same stuff and the numbers go up. That's how I assume it all happened. We didn't ask them about that. But it's just one of those things. If you're trying to get into content creation, go for it, do it. There's going to be stuff that hurts you. There's always going to be douchebags, whether you work at McDonald's, whether you post on Reddit, no matter where you are, there's going to be douchebags. So make sure you're doing the content that you like and that you enjoy and that it's worth your time, no matter what the reaction is. But there does come a point to be encouraging. This is my whole point, to be encouraging to you. There does come a point where you've done what you like enough, and you've put in the amount of time enough, and you've asked yourself those tough questions about, like, I don't know, prioritizing, like, is this worth my time? Is this worth the enjoyment? Am I doing this to impress others, or am I just doing it for me and I'm just glad a couple people like it? Whatever the questions are, there does come a point where when you've done it enough, the negative feedback is really easy to filter out, and the proper constructive feedback, even if it comes from a douchebag, is a lot easier to filter through and apply to yourself, or at least consider. And it's really easy to start putting stuff away. So don't worry. If you're thinking about getting into it, there does come a point where it is just water rolling over rocks, or whatever the fancier, more poetic way to say it.
You got to have a bit of a thick skin, but the fact is, it was a humorous experience. We both laughed about a lot of the comments, but we also decided that was it for us. With Reddit, we thought because it was PoE 2-ish, let's just throw some stuff up there because it'd be fun, and we thought the content was fun. But yeah, the fact is we are on episode 246 of Forever Exile because we enjoy each other's company and we like doing it the way that we've done it. And I think the people who listen have learned that if you've stuck around, you understand we don't care if you don't like it. It's fine if you don't like it. We know you're probably still listening if you don't like it, but you don't have to. Go find something else. There is so much PoE content out there. So
do what you want with your time, and we think you're fantastic. Spend your time. You get to live once. Hopefully for you get to live a long time. Well, I mean, Justin's going to live for forever, but everyone else, you only live once and there's never enough time in the day. So only listen to what you want.
Yeah. Spend your time where you want it. But anyway,
and
it was
better,
fun.
and it better be us.
I got very little lawn talk. My lawn's being treated for weeds again today. So
is that because there was a delay in something else, or why is it getting treated again?
He does a system. I don't know. He sends me texts and he's like, hey, I'm going to be doing my, I don't know if he said second or third treatment. It doesn't all happen in the first run. So he comes back over it. But
he planted grass seed a bit ago, right?
No, we did the grass seed. It was about
did that grow?
Month. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So and it's established. So any weed killer stuff's not going to screw you up.
Yeah. He doesn't use, there's certain stuff you can get that doesn't affect new grass growth. So it even if it was seeded, it doesn't actually affect it. So
were you happy with how it filled in?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually done a pretty good job of filling in. So it's not as flat as I would want it to be, but I just didn't have, I couldn't do what I wanted to do with regards to flattening the front yard specifically. So that'll be next year. Once the back's like all done and taken care of, I'll get out there and do that. But I have been getting my son to do the mowing, so it's been good.
Logan, sucker. I always had to do the mowing when I lived.
So did I, and it was fun. So
maybe that's why I like all the outdoor stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I haven't been able, I tried planting grass seed this year. We had a fantastic spring for it. Spring's done now. But we had a fantastic spring for it and it just didn't catch. And I think and I was great with how it all worked. I had good timing with it. Nothing happened. I think it's just the birds. It doesn't even matter if I do some soil, then plant a bunch of grass seed and then cover it again with soil. They're in there, man. I really don't think there is one seed left to germinate. So I'm going to try Manway's pre-germination method. Even though it's much hotter weather now, unfortunately. We'll see. I mean, I have some extra grass seed. And I think this is the last year I want to do grass seed. So hopefully we have a nice fall. Because I don't like using old grass seed, going through all that work. And then
nothing.
The reason it barely worked was because it's old grass seed, right? So I do want to use it up. There's the grass seed I bought when it was on sale that you were mentioning. And I still have 3 bags of that left. And then I have a contractor's bag, about 2 kilos there too.
You might be starting to get out of time to get it done though.
It's pretty
especially
hot.
If it stays like yesterday. Holy crap. It was 31, 32 degrees yesterday. So I've been procrastinating unintentionally. I guess it just hasn't been a priority. Maybe it's not procrastinating, but figuring out the fine details to start the pre-germination process in a garage. Yep.
So maybe I should take that serious. But we're going to Soyuz next week, so I can't water. It's just been so busy this past month too, with other things like prioritizing what I do with my energy and health and
save it for the fall, buddy.
Yeah. The thing is though, our falls and springs are so unpredictable.
Yeah. But just
the week we're gone is such good weather for it too. Curse you, in-laws.
Just do it late August. You'll be fine. I think you'll be just fine going into September. Right. Anyway.
Well, Calgary folk listening, hope you have some drinking water.
What?
They've had their main water mains have been busted and it's been taking forever. I think by the end of the process, it'll be 8 weeks of not having drinking water.
What? I mean, you're talking drinking water out of the tap, right? Like coming out of the tap.
Just water, man. Like the main water main for the whole city. Busted. Wow. It's making lots of news. So anyway, when I went to California, that was the first time I've ever been in, we have water restrictions because of how hot it gets, but it's never to the point where it's only outdoor stuff we're restricted to. It's not like we're ever told to not only use a certain amount of water for cooking or things like that. So when I went to California, that was the first time I was ever you get 2 water bottles a day for your room. I'm like, oh.
Unless you're Justin.
Right, unless you're Justin. Did you get charged extra?
No, I did not. And I drank waters. All right, what do we got this week in PoE?
Lots and nothing. There was a patch. Did you see the patch?
That must be just prepping for 325 patch. I didn't actually see it. Graphics changes.
So I guess maybe that is, but I mean, that's stuff that would happen whenever, but I guess it's better to do it when the league is dead as opposed to very active. Mm-hmm. One thing though, there's still no patch for console with all those crazy visual glitches.
Oh, get out. Really?
Wow. Still. I've been wanting to play.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So with this patch, so there's a few things.
Well for their whole like PoE 2 console-y controller couch play.
It is bad timing because a lot of the times people like, look what's happened to Fallout, right? The Fallout games, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout Shelter, their numbers have skyrocketed because of an unrelated content, right? Because of the TV show. They had such a surge in numbers that Todd Howard says, like, who needs a sequel when all you need to do is make a TV show and you know your original game just gets boosted up. So, you know, same thing, right? You come out with these nice marketing videos. Well, what are they going to do? Wow, that's your console experience.
Yeah, you wouldn't want people picking up PoE 1 right now on console if it's like that.
You don't. So, but let's see, they added, what was it? New render resolution graphics. So you can have an even lower resolution. So it's like the performance stays up, but it gets grainier. It looks poorer. They added a few extra quality settings as well. So the next time you load it up,
start back up.
Sorry, I just died with that cough.
So the next time, there you go.
You load up PoE, go through your visual settings. There's going to be some new options. And then there's just a generic statement that says, I mean, there's a bunch of bug fixes, but there's a generic statement that says optimize the performance of some monsters and microtransactions.
Cool.
Who knows what that means, but looking forward to that.
It's a very EA style comment.
I guess, but
although what are they going to do?
That's right. I feel like I'm reading the patch notes for for F124.
Yeah. Granted, they can't go into the detail, I'm sure, of every single thing they change.
No. What else do we have? We have, for announcements, there was, I think we talked about this before, the expansion timeline for 325.
Which we know they pushed. I don't think we actually talked about it. Did we? Or did we?
But I think I remember us making fun of the fact that
it's a 4-month
it's another 4-month league. Every single player isn't surprised, but it feels like GGG is surprised, or it's like the first time they've pushed a 3-month league to a 4-month league.
And we're going to be in a 4-month league too if they do try to push for a beta in November, because that's 4 months to November. If they start in mid-July, we're well, maybe 3 months if they want to try and get it at the same time, because it would be my God, your cough is rough this time.
Well, you're gonna have to start talking more, because I think the talking's bugging me.
If they start mid-July, they're going into November if they do a 4-month league. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Although also, I was thinking about it today with regards to PoE 2. I just don't want another delay for the beta.
Honestly, as long as the beta starts when it starts, I don't care if the beta lasts 2 years.
No, I agree.
I mean, I should correct. I obviously do, but I was thinking about it. Sorry, I interrupted you, but
you wanted me to talk more, but go ahead. You talk.
Yeah, that's right, Justin. You talk too much. Let me interrupt. So a long time ago, or recently, whatever, but before the concept of us going to a play test was there, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do the beta. I don't know if I want to do the play test. Like, I want to experience it for the first time. I'd be excited about it. But then we had the conflict of seeing so much gameplay and all the marketing and the oversaturation that we're getting from the marketing department. And so I'm like, I don't really want to. Maybe I don't want to do the beta. Maybe I just want to like sit down, boom, blind playthroughs, have a great time. But now that we've been invited to the play test, we're obviously not going to pass that opportunity up if we don't need to. And now that we've played, once the beta comes out, that's all I'm playing.
I just want to play it. And right. I feel like
it's just that much better. I would rather replay Acts 1 and 2 over and over and over than play Path of Exile. And that's just how much better the game is for me personally. So once beta hits, whether it's we've earned it or we need to purchase it, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, my feeling is you invited us out. You got me switching gears a little bit, getting excited for PoE 2. And if you, I want the beta to be good. I want the game to be where it needs to be, but I'm tired of chasing the carrot. And now you've got me excited to play PoE 2 and to see PoE 2. It's going to be tough for me to not be a crab, even though I want them to release it in the state that they want it to be in. I'm hopeful that, if everything lines up, that we should see 325 and then leading in towards 326 and the beta at similar times. That's my hope. My hope is that they actually stick to that, but who knows? Who knows what will happen?
Mm-hmm. So we have the 325 timeline. Trevor's mentioned in an interview that they're hoping for a November beta release.
Do you want me to do these announcements? Does that help you? If I do the talking?
Yeah.
I'm just going through Tyler's list. There's a Path of Exile 2 new class reveal tavern talk podcast with Gazzy and Darth microtransaction. Is this done already?
So yes,
Okay.
and that was that interview. And as they were speaking, was what slowly lifted the embargoes for us.
Oh, it was at the same time.
That was what they were using to reveal.
Okay,
and then it was that interview that made our embargo disappear.
Cool. So they did that. So, and I'm sure you can rewatch it if you want to rewatch it, or if you haven't watched it. Which gameplay walkthrough in Path of Exile 2 you'll be able to play as which? Oh, this was just their announced first look gameplay showcase. So they released that.
And then we slightly touched on it a bit because I remember speaking about specters, but that was one of those things where that was what I was playing at the reveal that we had embargoed. We couldn't talk about, but maybe we couldn't have gotten that far. Maybe we just didn't because we stuck in Act 1, but there was a lot of cool stuff in there that we didn't know about, having experienced the witch, because they were showing some level 30 character stuff, which was pretty neat, like specters and how specters work in socket. So
this is the video that they provided us in so we got a bunch of stuff that we could use, and this was the video that we had talked to them about potentially using for one of our episodes if we couldn't get some gameplay footage. So that's cool. What else we got? Jesse Rocks interviews Jonathan. Man, there's so many. This is him keeping up with his like 2 or 3 interviews.
That's right. Yeah,
he does
per minute. Click on the last
Jesse
link.
Rocks is, but what?
Click on the last link. Path of Exile 2 console event recap.
A few weeks ago, we held a Path of Exile 2 event in Los Angeles. Oh, this is the video that they put out with the recap, right?
So it's the behind the scenes. Justin and I got 2 small little snippets in there. It was awesome.
Just gotta look for the pink shirt.
Yeah, and Justin's sexy smiling face showed up there too. You got my sexy back and his face. Yeah, you knew you're in there. But now look at the bottom. But we didn't make this list, which is too bad. I'm hoping for like
interviews.
No, those aren't interviews. Those are just videos.
Yeah, there's been an amount of interviews and impression videos. So we didn't really do much of that besides an episode. A lot of those people literally did interviews with, like, almost all of those were interviews. Not all of them, but a good portion of those were interviews with Jonathan.
Cool. So anyway, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's just a few. Like, it is impossible. Like, that's a lot of people. I don't know. That's like 15 people in that list, maybe. It is so impossible to keep up with news.
Oh yeah.
I'm someone that wanted to watch every single video. I still have such a backlog, and now with this, like, I'm done. I'll find out from people whining about something online. That's right, Justin. You keep me up to date.
You get it from me,
but I can't. So I think from this point forward, I just need to be a little bit more hesitant about concerns. Voicing concerns. We had Gabe Lincoln join our Discord, and they messaged kind of an opposing opinion about my concerns that I mentioned about having only one specific support is available per build. Like you can only use GMP once in a build, or only use Feeding Frenzy once in a build. And they came out with some good counterpoints and thought process towards it. And it did remind me that there's so much more to the experience than what we were shown, even though we were at a play test. And there's so much when it comes to how end game building works and theory crafting that maybe it is an extremely legitimate decision, and I should hold off. Oh, I'm dying over here. You're not hearing these coughs, people, but I'm dying.
He is dying.
But anyway, Gabe, just like not in directly, but it just with their response reminded me that it's important to remember that we definitely do not have the full picture. And if there's any hesitancies or concerns, sure, have them, but there's not going to be a lot of value until you know the game inside out. How long? I think it's
fun.
But even after you've played Path of Exile for 100 hours, like in Path of Exile 1, people are like, I played for 2,000 hours and I still feel like a noob. Well, Path of Exile 2 might be the same way. So even if we've played 10 hours of the game and then we're like, oh, well, what I thought beforehand I didn't like, or I knew this wouldn't work. Well, you're 10 hours. Like, still, you got to put those reservations on the shelf and play it for what Path of Exile is worth playing to actually see if a design is functioning properly, right?
I'm trying to help you with talking, but you're very excited about this topic.
I was using my hands even.
You were, hands were out. My feeling towards the gem system is I'm confused but excited. I think the idea of saying you can only use one per build is a very it's new. It's something very, very different than we've ever experienced. And I am curious to feel the difference of, you know, debating when you choose to use a particular skill versus another one. And in conjunction though with that is, do you feel as rewarded by going a different route? Do I still feel like I'm getting the benefit of, okay, I can't use this particular skill because I used it somewhere else? Do my alternatives still feel good in what I'm getting to pick? Or do I feel like now I'm just like being forced into picking something less optimal or something less that I want? So
that's right. And I think it was Octavian when we brought up that, because we thought there was an issue when we were playing and you couldn't allocate whatever support it was to your skill. We didn't know, there wasn't an error message. It was just a glitch in the demo, but
which I know they're going to fix, but
right. Yeah. So they'll fix it and that's fine. But then Octavian was explaining that, oh yeah, in the game, you're only going to be able to have one specific support per build. And so we were asking, so that was, I don't know, 5-10 minute conversation with them. And so part of the idea was that, yes, there's going to be that limitation. Currently, that's the plan. And so the idea is that GGG just needs to make that many more supports that are that interesting and efficient. Okay, sure. I mean, that's a big deal. I hope you have the time management for that. But then Octavian was saying, along with that comes if the prospect that you can add. I think it was this conversation. So correct me if I'm wrong. But then he said that then that adds the prospect of, for the sake of variety, but also because of the limitation. Sorry, for the sake of variety of coming up with 1 billion different supports, but also because there's now that limitation of only using it once per build, they're considering or are adding damage back to supports. So before, the idea was that damage wasn't going to be on supports per se without a massive con. And so they were all going to be like utility style things. And that's why having six links wasn't going to be as overpowering as we would think it would be from a Path of Exile 1 perspective. And I could be out to lunch. So
I don't remember him saying damage.
Shoot, because possible, I do, but I don't remember the context. And I think this was the context, because there's just going to be that limitation, but then they also need the variety. Damage might be coming back into support gems.
I don't remember if that's the case, then
I have less reservations about the restriction if you're going to be adding different things like that, because
I don't think you have to add damage to give enough variety, though. I don't think you have to add damage.
No, but do you want to go through 200 supports to see, just for the sake of having something that's different? You know what I mean?
Go through 200.
Well, that's nice that they have 1 billion viable supports. Do I, as a user, need to know what each of them do?
So the way that Jonathan explained it is that when you have your skill, so you're in your option where you're picking the support, which support do you want? And they had different tiers. So we only saw tier 1, 2, and 3, but you could scroll down and there was at least 4 and 5. I don't know if they're ever going to go further than that. But his comment was, and again, we were looking at it from the what they expect the user in general to look at, not hit the button to see all the supports, but these are the recommended supports. But his comment was that they expected to have at least 3 in every single tier that you could choose between. Now, we didn't see 3 in every single tier, but that was his goal, was that in every single option that they suggested always had 3 in every tier. So when you're talking about getting to the end, hold on, let me just mark this down so I can actually still think. What that means, though, is then when you're getting to the end, let's say there's 6 tiers. I don't know how many tiers there were, but I know I saw at least 5, but let's say there's 6. That means there's 18 supports for your skill that are being recommended. That's not 18 total, because we already know there's a button you can hit to see all of them, but that means there's 18 supports that they've created that work with that. And you're only going to get to pick 5. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing. If you're giving that many options, first off, you're going to have to be coming up with some new ones. Obviously, you're going to have some of the pre-existing ones, but there's going to have to be some new ones, especially because you're dumping a lot of the pre-existing ones because those ones just added flat damage or some form of damage, and the goal is to get away from that. So I feel like I'm fine with seeing how this all plays out, because, and also really trying to get outside of my head with the PoE 1 mindset and go like, okay, how do they make this work in the PoE 2? And how do I make sure that I'm not coming from a PoE 1 standpoint of going, well, I want increased area of effect on multiple things, and instead having to switch to go like, well, which one do I actually want it more on? And which one do I have better options or as cool options? Other side. I'm sorry, but as I was talking there, Tyler was really trying to hold a cough in his face.
My facial expressions probably looked really hot.
Anyway, that's my feeling towards it. I'm optimistically excited to see where it goes, because I think that
can you be pessimistically excited?
I don't want to be pessimistic. I guess you could, sure. But I think doing what they're doing is a really cool, it's a cool idea, because we haven't seen it before in PoE 1. I like them trying something new. And if they are actually coming out with that many supports, I do understand the concept of like trying to switch things up. And I actually think,
when you hit that button to get you out of that kind of beginner friendly menu and you see all the supports available to you,
there's got to be a filter or something.
Well, it's just, there is, I mean, I know it's Path of Exile, but
it's never going to get through this episode, people.
I'm sorry, Justin, for all the
You're
coughing.
fine. I got a lot of lists.
It's just, there is going to be a point where it's too much. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not, like, again, I'm trying to remember to not criticize something that I don't have, but there is a point where, especially if you can only use one, it's just like there is a point where that list.
But you're choosing to go see that list. You're choosing to go say, hey, I want to see all of the supports that are available. Maybe not the ones that work with my skill, but all of the supports available. Well,
yeah, but that's, I mean, if Path of Exile is going to be the same kind of game where, okay, 1,000 hours in and you're still a noob, that's going to be a regular experience.
Yeah, I still think that's fair. If you choose to look through all of the supports, which you certainly could do right now if you had the time and you wanted to go through all of the supports that Lily sells, or whoever the person is that sells them, that's a decision you decide to make. So I feel like it actually, I do agree with them that this potentially increases variability of builds, because you don't always lean on the ones that you think you should be using for every single skill. And I like that they're kind of switching it up with PoE 2 to make you think a little bit differently. And what my hope for it is that I feel as rewarded by choosing something different. If I'm so used to going like, oh, with this skill, I always want, I'm just using increased area of effect for an example. I always want increased area of effect. If as long as I feel like my other three choices or my other 2 or 3 choices feel rewarding, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. So that's my feeling towards it.
I agree.
Yeah. I think, do you have anything else you want to quickly talk about? But let's wrap this up. This will be a shorter episode, and that's fine.
I got like 1,000 things to talk about, man. We got
some fun ones coming up next week. What do you tell me one, and let's talk about one, because you're dying, man. I like, this isn't fun to watch, and then I gotta edit it. I don't want you to die. We still gotta do After Dark.
One thing, I don't think I can get through it.
Do you want to type it to me and I'll bring it up for you?
I'm gonna make a post further encouraging them on their creativity, because I'm very impressed with the Minion video that came out.
I didn't even watch it, but I should.
And just the more, all right, hang on. And just the more I rewatch our gameplay or their demo, the more the fine details are sticking into my memory. I love that as a Minion player right off the bat, a scepter gives me skeletons. Costs me nothing. It's free skill. It doesn't even cost me spirit. But if I want to take one of those free 3 skeletons that I have, I can turn it into a cleric or an archer or a fire bomber, and then that specific thing costs me spirit. And then it's only as I level and choose to invest in spirit, that I get more spirit and then therefore get more unique skeletons. Obviously, specters that were shown in this video, they require spirit. So then you make the changes, and the menu that they have that shows you the difference of like how to allocate and unallocate is very user friendly.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna talk about spirit to just save you a minute, but you finish off your point.
That's a good idea.
Well, my thing that I was curious about with spirit is because I was playing the warrior, and there are a lot of nodes in the area around the warrior that give percentage increases to spirit, but I never saw flat spirit. So I was kind of curious how do other classes get spirit in order to run auras? Because as a warrior, I get 0 spirit. I mean, every class, in fact, starts with 0 spirit. The only reason the witch has spirit is because there was 100 flat on the scepter. So I am curious how other classes are expected to get spirit.
Items.
But
Jonathan said, unless it's changing, that items are all flat additive values. The tree is all
that's
multiplicative.
A roll, then? Is that a roll?
Well, they were on the scepter, they're an implicit.
Well, but that's what I'm talking about. For a warrior, for example, is that what we're talking? That's a prefix or a suffix that I have to give up something else then for?
I'm sure that they'll have more than one base type that provides you spirit. Otherwise, that would be ridiculous, because spirit is what's apparently going to be used for auras as well.
Which will work fine as long as auras are percentage based. If auras are flat, like we've seen in the past with vitality, clarity, precision, other ones, it could be very difficult to get those, because the ones I looked at least that were spirit on the tree were like 10%, 15, 20. I don't think I saw anything higher than 20%. So depending on what the flat amount is on, let's say, a prefix or a suffix on maybe my belt or a ring, which we never did see, but it could be very, very difficult to maintain any sort of auras with them. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with spirit specifically for other classes that are not using the minions. But yeah, I was just curious about that because I wasn't sure how they were planning on giving other classes spirit, and I was seeing percentages and I'm like, well, but 20% of 0 is still 0. So
maybe they'll have 7 different kinds of scepters, one good for each.
Yeah, but you don't want as a warrior have to feel like I have to run around with a one-handed scepter. So there's got to be
your melee will be
else.
Good enough that you wouldn't need an aura.
Yeah, but it's I know. There's got to be something though, because I feel like auras are always they've been such a fun part of Path of Exile. I really still want to see them. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. And I don't mind that we didn't see it, because I would never get an aura at level 1 anywhere. But even by level 12, I might have gotten vitality or clarity
in PoE 1. Yeah,
in PoE 1. And then I didn't ever feel like I needed them, so I'm currently fine with that not being a thing. I was just curious how other classes outside of the Witch are expected to get spirit. I'm sure they've said it. I have not watched any of the other PoE 2 content, so I can't. Somebody's going to be listening to this.
Even if they don't, though, they're only 4 or 5 class reveals into 12 basic archetypes. So there's going to be a guardian. And that's going to be whatever they're going to call the guardian. I'm sure it's just going to stay the guardian, but that version, that archetype, do I say archetype? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That archetype is just, there's no way they're going to announce a guardian style and then they're going to ignore the concept of spirit.
As long as it's just not always flat on the weapon, I would like to be able to see it some other way gained. And if that does mean I have to give up a prefix or a suffix, that's fine. I just don't want to always feel like I have to have a specific weapon type in order to get that. As a warrior, that would feel weird.
Maybe there's a currency item that lets you re-roll an implicit or a skill.
Yeah, there were no implicits on the weapons I had as a warrior. None. So
yeah, because it's all about having that basic skill as your implicit instead, so that you're never screwed. You always have something available to you. So the other thing that I wanted to mention though, in regards to spirit, like that's really cool. They have the whole 1 button business or no button business. So far, any minion that requires spirit automatically resurrects, right? So they showed skeletons, they showed specters as reserving spirit, and then they auto respawn after a duration of being dead for a bit. The scorpions that showed up from the unearth skill, they did not auto respawn, and that makes sense because they don't require spirit. They just have a trigger chance based on what the gem describes. But one thing that all right, I gotta get through this fast because that was a bad one. I loved the concept of them also having minions that don't require spirit. And to me, that was really exciting when zombies didn't require spirit. I'm like, part of me was like, oh, shoot. Now I have to still invest in, like, as soon as I saw the skeletons auto-respawning, I'm like, oh my goodness, zombies are going to be so fun. But I'm like, I wonder what they're going to cost spirit-wise and all this. So I'm like, I'm just excited to get to them once we got to uncut gem level 4. Finally get it. Zombies blow my mind. They don't cost spirit. And I'm like, oh no, that's kind of disappointing. Now I have to invest in their survivability. But then I'm like, that's not disappointing because look at all the other minions I can have for support or whatever, however supports are going to work in general, like just utility minions, however it's going to work. Look at all the extra stuff I can add to zombies. And to me, so here I'm trusting GGG that zombies, you're going to be able to make them tanks. Like that's the purpose of zombies. You still have to raise them from a corpse. Therefore, they don't cost spirit. Therefore, you can have a full number of them and not have to worry about your spirit. So that got me so excited. But just that concept of minions don't need spirit, but they can.
Right. That there's a difference.
And it's that default interaction with it, but you can definitely play around with other aspects of not needing spirit to have an army. So I just, the creativity there was really exciting. And the more that I watch that video, I get more excited. So at one point when we were in LA, you actually said that you were becoming a skeleton guy. You're like, well, I guess I'm a skeleton guy. Right,
you were
because
actually
of the
really
auto
enjoying
resing.
the skeletons.
Yeah, the auto resing was fantastic. But then, and I only got maybe 20 minutes of the zombies after we unlocked them. Fatigue was really hitting us hard at that point, or me hard. But the more I think about it afterwards, I'm loving that there's going to be permanent minions without spirit. There's going to be, of course, permanent minions with spirit, but it costs spirit. And all the other minions that currently exist in Path of Exile 1, what kind of ideas are they sending forward to Path of Exile 2? How are they going to be implemented? What are the differences? It's really cool. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Cool. All right. Well, somehow we got talking about PoE 2, even though whatever. Let's wrap this up so that Tyler can go and take care of himself or just quietly die.
I'm going to go die in a corner.
The microphone. Forever Exiled 246, Justin AK tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
Patrons will catch you in After Dark. Everybody else will see you for a fun episode next week in 247. Hopefully everybody's having a great week. If you're looking for more information, you can find down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com, or on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a very fun Discord. Pop in there and say hello. And Patrons, other ways to support the podcast, you'll find them down below as well as on the website. Thanks, everybody.
Love ya.